Hi folks, hope you're okay today. I just want to give a quick bit of advice to those students at campus, at university, who run into these kind of more new atheist, militant kind of atheists, to give you a bit of advice how to deal with them. Maybe they're getting alongside you, trying to pull your faith down and weaken your resolve and trying to convert you to their atheism. Or maybe in class or when you're with groups of students, they're bringing up their atheism and kind of smashing your beliefs and trying to make you look an idiot, and you're just wondering how do you deal with these people. And so we're not on about the general atheist who's just getting along with their life and just holds to atheism. We're on about these kind of missionary atheists. How do you deal with them? The first thing is that these people will generally have looked at a lot of their seminars, videos on YouTube or whatever, so they'll be kind of like trained in their way of thinking, and so you're up against it. So you need to go well armed, you need to go well researched. So you've got to be prepared to put in a bit of time to be able to answer them and rebut what they're saying when you're in front of your fellow students, or when they try to get alongside you and they try to break your will. You can just defend yourself and defend your faith. So you need to be prepared to study, and I've given you resources on the video, university resources for Christian resources for students at university. So first of all, these missionary atheists most of the time will attack the Old Testament. Basically they'll say the Bible's got slavery, the Bible's got violence in it, etc. The first thing you want to do is turn it around on them and say, okay, I understand that you believe that this is immoral, whatever, but how do you get a moral system from your perspective from an amoral system? You believe in evolution. Evolution doesn't tell you right and wrong. So how do you get morality from amorality? And you need to pin them down. If they're arrogant, pin them down with it. Just say you're being illogical and inconsistent, and when you're in front of fellow students, ram it home in front of everybody. Don't let these missionary atheists get off the ground. Pin them down and say you're being hypocritical, your own system is amoral, and you're talking about morality. How do you get that? Now they might say, well, we can get that because of science, because of social psychology, that we can see the way animals are acting and we can work out how we should act. And you just tell them that kind of stuff is not taken seriously. Just go and read the article on evolutionary psychology at Stanford University. Nobody takes that seriously. It's self-projection. We project our ideas onto what animals are thinking, and then we make social theories from it. If they say, well, we can gather together as a society and come up with rules, say, well, that's arbitrary because one society might say one thing's right, another society might say it's wrong, so that's not a good basis for morality. They might say, well, we can do scientifically objective by showing what pain is and what happiness is. But again, that is arbitrary, because what we might say is pain and happiness in the West might not be the same in an Eastern culture. So again, they can't get objective morality, and they still haven't got the answer to the amoral issue of evolution, to morality that they're trying to get. The other thing is, specifically, if you look at slavery, there are 4 types of slavery in the Bible, and nothing to do with the kind of slavery in the Deep South. And they're reading the Western concepts of slavery into the Old Testament. You need to call them out on that. Next, also on the attacks on the violence in the Old Testament, there's a context to that. God gave the people of Canaanites and the Amalekites 400 years to repent, and it's justice upon what they were doing to other cultures. And also you need to bring in the New Testament, that God ultimately was putting the world right, because the Old Testament is of law and the New Testament is of grace, and God came down to die. Always bring Christ in the picture when they start talking about the Old Testament. Always bring Christ in, because that is the ultimate answer, that Christ came to die for our sin. And God showed us love there. Then they'll go on to science. They'll talk about evolution, they'll talk about cosmology. You need to do some research on that, read books, listen to lectures, listen to articles, and be ready for them. That's where they'll go, that's where they think they're strong. So there are good creationist websites. Don't be ashamed of them. That people say that they're not good, but there's some brilliant scientists that are in these creationist groups. There really are. And so listen to them, and they'll provide you with some really helpful resources. You'll be able to find answers to homology when they say we're 98% similar to a chimpanzee, but we're 30% similar in DNA to a banana. So homology, what is homology? You know, it can be shown that homology can actually show that it could have been God rather than evolution. But the issue with evolution is mutations, and at the end of the day, if you study mutations, the mutations cannot get you the variety of life that we have today. So just do a bit of reading, a bit of study on that, and you'll also create good creationist websites. I'll link to one or two, and you'll be able to deal with evolution and cosmology. On the issue of light, how come if light takes billions of years, why is it that you don't believe in an all-day Earth? The answer to that, the founding of the coming of light takes so many years. That all presumes there is no God. If there is a God, then God could have made the world in such a state where the light has come and was done within a moment of time, and now we see it as billions of years. That is possible if there is a God. Just like when Adam was made, he was not made as a 2-year-old kid, he was made as a fully fledged human. We would have looked at him, the moment he was made, would have looked at him as if he was 30, 40 years of age, but he was made in a moment. So we can look at the universe and we can think, oh well, it took billions of years, so it's all, but God could have made it in a moment. So all these arguments presume there is no God. So read up on cosmology, read up on evolution, and read the secular writers as well, so you've got a background and you can answer, because they'll come up with these kind of arguments. And for positive arguments on the fine-tuning, there are philosophers that don't agree with everything. Richard Swinburne on the fine-tuning, William Wayne Craig on the Kalam are very helpful. The atheists don't like it, but it is very helpful. So don't be discouraged by what the atheists are saying. When they attack the Bible, always take them to the big picture. What's the big picture? That's the way to deal with people. Always get them the big picture. How does this fit in to the big picture of the Bible? And give some arguments of why the Bible is the Word of God, because of it's a unity over 2,000 years of writing, yet it's one book. It's the most popular book, best-selling book. It changes lives. The historical facts of the Bible have been proved right. Scholars said that King David never existed. We found material to prove that King David existed. So, you know, have some of these facts available and ready. Then on the historical Christ, books to be looking at is Resurrection of Jesus by Lycona, Gary Habermas's website on the Resurrection of Christ, and go and read N.T. Wright, go and read Richard Bauckham, and look at Public Christianity website, and there you'll get loads of good scholarly material in defending the resurrection and the Gospels, etc. The atheists are very, very weak in that area, so if you study a lot on the historical Jesus, you'll be really well equipped to deal with the atheist. Push them back. If you go and look at the key atheist books by Hitchens, Christopher Hitchens, Harris, Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, if you look at the key atheist writers, you'll find that they are very, very poor on dealing with the Gospels and the resurrection of Jesus. So you can nail them on that if you study that quite easily. on ethical issues, you can use presuppositional apologetics. Is very helpful, yeah. So basically, Old Testament, they'll attack the Old Testament. I'm giving you some strategies to deal with them. They'll go on about science, so you need to read up. I can't give you all the answers in a video, but you need to go and read up, get prepared, look at good websites that'll help you, and be prepared. You can answer them. Defend the Bible on a big picture basis, and historical Jesus studies, they are so poor it's unbelievable. Study there, you can always nail them there quite easily. And that's it really. What can I say? Excuse me. I find presuppositional apologetics with evidential apologetics, I find that a very effective way of dealing with these kind of militant atheists. And I've used the presuppositional apologetics very effectively with atheists, and also evidentially on the historical Jesus studies has been very effective. And if you combine presuppositionalism with evidential apologetics, but do some research of your own on the scientific issues, you'll be well equipped to deal with any militant atheist. And always remember, when you're dealing with a militant atheist on campus, you've got to make sure when they start attacking you, criticizing your position, you've got to have things in your mind quick. You've got to have strong points that you can go to. So for example, if I was on campus and then militant atheists started attacking me, one of the first areas I go is I quote 1 Corinthians 15. Now I know all the scholarship, I know everything about that passage. So that's my default position. So I've got a strong point there. So they've got to come and knock that down. But I'm on my strong point. So they're not going to be able to knock it because I know the position, the stuff around that, and I can answer their questions and push them back on that. So you go to your default position. You hold on to something strong that you know you can hold on to. And then, as you hold on to that, you go for their weaknesses. Look for their weakness and undermine them. So as they say, start criticizing the Bible, criticizing the resurrection of Christ, I'll say, wait a minute, you're using logic there, aren't you? You say, yeah. Well, how do you account for logic in your system? As soon as I get them on that, they're on the back foot and they've got problems. Yeah? So you've got to have in your mind some areas that you know really well. When they start criticizing, you fall back on that, so you're on strong ground. And so they can't knock you off it. And then as they're trying to knock you off the strong ground, you find their weakness and you floor them with it. You undermine them. Very often what they do is they catch you off guard. They'll talk about things perhaps you don't know about or stuff like that, and you feel unsure of yourself. And that's where you're going to get in trouble. That's where you're going to feel unsure, and you're going to feel that you're undermined and your faith is not strong, and you're going to doubt your faith. So when they start questioning, don't let them. They'll put you on the ropes. They'll try to get you on the ropes and keep hitting you with these difficult questions. For example, they'll say, well, in Matthew it talks about these people coming out of the tombs. Why isn't that recorded by historians? And they'll keep asking you, and they'll try to pin you down. But you've got to push them off. Don't let them pin you down. You've got to say, well, wait a minute, there is evidence for the resurrection. And there's solid evidence. And then they'll say, no, but you can't. And you don't let them pin you down. You go back to your solid ground and then deal with their difficult questions from there. Alright? So, go to your strengths, what you know is true, and where you've got evidence, and then undermine them, their weak points. Alright? Thank you for listening.